Hello. Thank you guys all for joining today. I will get us kicked off in just a moment. Um, Before we get too carried away, I'm just going to hit the little OK button so that it won't yell at me for having the recording. Perfect. Well, like I said, thank you guys all for joining. My name is Marissa. I am our product marketing manager here at AddEvent, and I am joined by Sam. I can let you introduce yourself for just a
Yeah.
moment.
Hi, guys. I'm Sam. I kind of do all the content and marketing fun with Marissa and the rest of the AddEvent team. So thank you guys so much for taking some time out of your day to stop by and see how we can better use our tool.
Perfect. Well, we know your guys' time is precious. I'm sure if you are a coach, you probably are doing a billion things at once and wear a lot of hats. So we have geared this today to be obviously catered towards coaches. Hopefully this is helpful. Want to kind of just talk through all the ways that you can use AddEvent and kind of the tools that we've offered. So just a little high level, whoops, recap. Drunk on click power. Basically, AddEvent, we've got a bunch of different tools and functionality that we offer. So we've got our add to calendar buttons and links, which you may or may not be familiar with. You can collect RSVPs for all of your events. We also offer embeddable subscription calendars and embeddable events and forms and RSVPs and all that good stuff. And then we also have what we call automated add to calendar buttons and links. Might be more familiar if you use the word dynamic, so it's unique ones. And lots of other fun stuff. So we will go ahead and dive in. If you're not super familiar with us, we've got what feels like a lot of customers, and we've had over 7 million events created. So really great to see how people use us. If you feel comfortable sharing what you're using us for, we'd love to hear it, but absolutely no pressure. And like I said, I'm Marissa, this is Sam, and today we are going to just kind of go right through this agenda. So we're going to get comfortable in the dashboard. Sam's going to show you around. She'll show you how to basically create new calendars. And I think specifically this is really important for coaches. You know, you guys can use this in your communities and your membership calendars, all that good stuff. So Sam will show you how to create those, how to make sure you've got the subscriber information being captured, which is going to be really important if you are only sharing with paying members so that if they've turned out, you can remove them as well. And then I will jump in and show you guys around creating events and kind of looking at the RSVPs, which is similar as far as like capturing information goes. And then talk a little bit about how we might integrate AddEvent with other tools, you know, whether that be your CRM or marketing automation tool, what have you. So Sam, I will go ahead and let you hop on into the dashboard.
Perfect.
Give us
All right.
1 second.
I know it's here somewhere. There we go. All righty. So if you guys have ever used our tool before, I'm sure that this looks fairly familiar. Yours is probably a slightly different variation. But when you sign up for AddEvent, you automatically get deposited into our dashboard. And from our dashboard, there are two main things you can do. Obviously, there's more than that, but the two main things that you can do to start creating are either calendars or events. That's kind of where you get everything kicked off. So today I'm going to be kind of covering the calendar side of things, and then Marissa's going to take it back over and talk more about the actual event side of things. So when you're going to create your very first calendar, you click this handy little create button and you drop down to the calendar. Oh, of course, it's going to kick me out because we're both in there right now. Sorry about that. So you're going to go in, you're going to create your calendar. So this is where all of your events are going to live. So just going to make a little example title here. You can call it whatever you'd like. And then you're also going to want to set up a little description. So on that calendar landing page, this will kind of give people an idea about you know, what type of events they can expect to find on this particular calendar. So let's say, for example, this is a membership calendar. You have upcoming membership sessions that you want to make sure only a select group of people are going to have access to. You just want to put any relevant details there. You also can then go ahead and set the default time zone for any new events that you're going to be adding to this calendar. I personally am in Eastern time zone. I know, Marissa, you're typically in the Pacific time zone. But right now I think you're also on Eastern, so it's very exciting. And then that way you're not getting any of your users confused when you're going and putting those new events on there. Um,
Yeah.
you also can create custom templates that will match your branding for both calendar landing pages and your event landing pages. And you can set that to be something standard. So whatever events you throw on this calendar would all have the same type of landing page template. But that's something that you can always go back and change down the road as well. For display settings, you get to select, do you want your week to begin on a Sunday or a Monday? I personally believe that the week begins on a Monday. That's just me. And you can also customize your color palette so that it matches your branding specifically. And you know, can add as many palettes as you would like, kind of go crazy. We do also offer just a default one if you're feeling uninspired and you want to just start with something. You can import an external calendar that would then show up in your ad event calendar. So you can essentially have a external calendar that's a valid ICS that would then mirror into your ad event calendar. But it is really important to note that when you do this, any changes that you need to make to the events on this calendar have to be done in the calendar app side of things. So your Google Calendar or, you know, Mac Calendar, whatever that might be, you can't edit it in AddEvent if it's referring from a different site. So just something to be aware of.
Yeah,
And
I'd say we would probably recommend not doing that unless you already have it set up there for some reason. But I think
yeah,
just creating an advent, it's going to be less room for user error, right?
exactly. Yeah. Anything we can do to make it a little bit easier to manage on this side of things, we're all for. Um, and then calendar subscribers. So this is a really cool feature that we find a lot of coaches and small business owners particularly like to use. And what it is a subscription calendar, or you might be more familiar with the term calendar feed. And what you can do is you can collect your users' information and allow them to subscribe to your calendar, which would then mimic and copy all the events that you add to this calendar onto their personal calendars. You know, if you've got a weekly master class that you want to make sure a specific group of people are in on, this would be a great way to get all of those events in one place on their calendar instead of having to send individual invitations and share individual event links like a million times. Um, and when you do your calendar subscribers, you can decide to just have people subscribe anonymously. But obviously, if you want to kind of control who's seeing what on the calendar, it is important to add in just a little bit of qualifying information. So the main two that we throw in there is name and email. That's always important to know. But you do have the ability to add any custom fields. You know, you have an unlimited amount. You can ask people what their favorite color is, you know, what their sign is, that sort of thing. And we've got lots of little options for how you receive that information. So that's if you're going to use a subscription calendar. And then I will also show you guys once you've created this new calendar. If, for example, you've got a member whose subscription has lapsed and you're like, okay, I need to remove them from my subscription calendar. In the dashboard, let me go back. These three little dots over here on the calendar side of things, you would click on, you can go to your calendar detail page, which is this right here. And then this is kind of where you can go on in and manage and share your calendar. These are your current subscribers, right? And if you want to manage and update any of their details, all you have to do is click on them, and it'll take you right in here. You can, of course, make changes to their name, email, whatever information you want. This one also asks for like date of membership, so you can kind of keep track of when people are subscribing to the calendar. But if you want to revoke their access, all you have to do is select block and save, and this will remove that person from being able to access your subscription calendar. So that's just an easy way to manage who's subscribed and who's not from your subscription calendars. There
Yeah.
are, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to jump in for 1 second just to add. I think you kind of touched on this when you were creating the calendar, but just to reiterate, if you do not collect information such as email and name when they're subscribing, it's going to just show you anonymized data. So if you needed to remove people, like Sam mentioned, you have that membership calendar. Only people who are currently active members should be able to have access to that. You really want to make sure you're collecting this information. Otherwise, you don't have any way of removing them on their own. So I know you said it. I just want to
Yes.
reiterate Just to make sure.
super important. Yeah,
Right.
there'd be nothing more frustrating than not being able to like use this tool exactly how you envisioned it. So that's a great shout. Thank you, Marissa. Um, there are also tons of other ways for you to share your calendar landing page with other people. Obviously, we give you a URL that you could use on social media channels. You can also link it in an email. We have the short and long version here for you to copy. You can add an access code for people to only be able to access your calendar if they know the code, which is always nice to be able to toggle that on and off. Like I mentioned earlier, you can create custom calendar landing pages that match your branding specifically. Um, it's really up to you what you choose to do with that. And then we give you quite a few ways of sharing your calendar page, much like your events. We give you the different links that you might need to be able to insert them into your email, newsletter campaigns, that sort of thing. You can customize these as well, and kind of update them to match the rest of your email and whatever else you've got going on there. We do also offer you an add calendar button, which is just an easy way to get people, once again, to get on over to your calendar page. You can also customize this to your heart's content. If you need some direct links, if you know, for example, what platform your users are using for their personal calendars, this is a great way to get your events and your calendar landing page right on over to them to be able to subscribe or whatever else. And then embeddables. Embeddables are super cool because you can literally take rather than taking a screenshot of your upcoming events and having that stationary posted somewhere, you can actually have this dynamic calendar that can live on your website. It can live in your different coaching portals. I know we just tested it not too long ago in Circle SO. So there's a lot of different ways that you can embed this code and have this calendar mirror and show up in a couple of different places, just getting more eyeballs on it, having more people have the ability to subscribe to it or whatever else you might do. Um, Obviously, you can also customize this when you're setting it up. You can, make sure that you're adding as much or as little detail as you want for that embeddable that's going to show up on your website. You can also do it with your event list. And also RSVP forms, which is more for events, and Marissa's going to hit on that in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, as far as calendars go, the sky's the limit. It really is up to you if you want to create as many or as little calendars. You can get really specific with them, depending on the different groups that you have and uses. So yeah, Marissa, you ready to kick it
Hop
back?
on. Sure thing. Yeah, let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. All right. So participants now can share. Perfect. Okay. So just talking through all the calendar stuff. Thank you, Sam. I think that was really helpful in like getting a good baseline understanding. I know sometimes people maybe get a little bit turned around with what is calendar versus event. So that's really helpful in just understanding that the calendar is where your events live on. So I'm going to sign in now again too. When you first create your calendar, so you'll notice on the left-hand side, I just want to add real quick that it's called man calendar. So if you are on a paid plan, you can create more than one. So just so you know, that is why yours would say main calendar. But I'm going to click into Sam's example calendar since that's the one that she just created. We can see now that there are no events in here in comparison to obviously our main calendar, which has a bunch of example events in it. So did I click into the right one? There we go. Clicking back into the example calendar, let's chat through how to actually add events to the calendar. So really quickly, there's two different ways that you can actually create an event. Sorry if you're getting crazy. So the first is the big create button on the top left right here, and then click into this event, which will take you to the event create page. The second way is if you click once on any date on the dashboard, it will pop up and you can give high level information, title, date, time, like that. And then if you click twice and double click, it's going to open up the event create page. This is where the event button would take you to when you hit the create event one also. So this is same, just different routes to get here. So first things first, I will give example event. My name here, let's just say it is a guest speaker who is coming for my members. You can go ahead and give it an internal name if you'd like. This is just going to reflect only on your internal dashboard. It's not going to be something that the end user is able to see. So don't panic if you have it named something really funky. And then the other thing here is we've got reoccurring versus event series. So this is really important to know the difference between. We see people get a little bit caught up in this sometimes. And I think especially if you are a coach that has the same reoccurring, a weekly QA, a weekly speaker, etc. This is really helpful. So the reoccurring basically is going to create an event that you aren't able to edit or delete any of the future ones. So if I click reoccurring and I say, okay, I want this to repeat every week on Wednesdays, and I want this to run forever and never end, it's going to basically have the same event over and over and over again, and it'll have like a little R icon next to it on, let me show you, on the dashboard. So when we do that, it's going to look as such. You'll see here, example event recurring, and it's created a indefinite, basically the rest of the time, copies for that. And you can tell it's reoccurring because it's got that little R, even if I hadn't, named it that. So, like I said, if you are using reoccurring and you go to edit it, you actually cannot edit it because this is basically just the same event from the first one that we've created. So really important to know reoccurring rules there. If I click back into the first one now, we can see I can actually edit this. So I'm going to go ahead and not save that and actually leave that. And then I will create another one just so we can see what it might look like differently. So example event series. So if we create an event series, what this is essentially doing is this is creating individual events in bulk on the cadence that you've told it to. So similarly, say I've got this running every Wednesday or Thursday or whatever day, that's what I have on Thursday. It's going to duplicate, right now it's just set up to end until the 15th of December. I'm just gonna leave it as such. And if I go ahead and hit create now, we can see there's example event series and there's a little S next to it. So we can tell it is an event series type of event. And if we click into this one now, we can actually edit it. And I could change the names, all that good stuff. This would be really helpful if you're trying to create, again, just something like a speaker series where every week it might be a different speaker, but you want to have, the initial information there. So hopefully that is helpful in kind of clearing up the difference between those two. And let's go ahead and just create a good regular event. Cool. So from here, we similarly would add a description of whatever the event might be. Come join us for XYZ. And then the location, it's going to by default have basically the address little icon. You can put Zoom links in here. So if you want to, you can just pop those in and paste them. Do note it's going to still have the little location pin. Unfortunately, we're not able to change that, but it's pretty straightforward. People never seem to have an issue with knowing where Zoom is. I think that's pretty common nowadays, or whatever, webinar platform that you're using, whatever that URL is. And then down here, we can change the organizer name and email. So by default, it's going to go and pull in whatever is on your account as your account name and email. This is not something that people can email back and it won't go to this email. It's just going to be how it displays on their invitation. So if you are, I'm going to say Coach Marissa, and we would say Marissa Coach at AddEvent.com. Now that's going to show as the organizer information. And then down here, the notify users, this is like when you're on your calendar and you get that little pop-up or that little reminder, hey, you got an event in X amount of minutes. That's what this is about. Just so you know, that is all set by us when you set it up here. However, your calendar is going to respect whatever the user settings are. So for me personally, I've changed my settings to every 5 minutes on my Google Calendar. If the user doesn't have that pre-set up, then it will use whatever we set here. But it is just kind of a catch-all because typically people have that set up already. So just make note of that. But if you're using things like RSVP events, then we can send those event reminder emails. So we will come back to RSVP in just a second. And then lastly, that standard template that Sam mentioned, basically it's going to use the standard template on our landing page. But if you have a custom template, you want it to match your branding, all that good stuff, you can absolutely set that up and then apply that. And I think we might be doing a custom template webinar in a couple weeks. So if you're curious about learning more, we can, of course, send more information there. And the calendar is going to be whatever calendar I've started creating this on, but if I did it on the wrong one, I can always change it to a different one. So I'm going to hit create. And now we are on the event details page. So this looks very similar to the calendar details page. You can, of course, kind of see the same left-hand bar. It's very familiar. And what we're seeing here is basically a good summary of everything that we just set up. If you're using Zapier for stuff, you'll need to know your event ID. This is if you are using, to trigger like RSVP information to put into your CRM. We can come back to that in just a minute, but that is important. So good to know there. And then if you need to actually edit your event, maybe the event type, the time, the date, etc., you can go ahead and always event edit here. So really quickly, before we start talking about RSVPs, I just want to go through the list. So this, again, looks very familiar. It's very similar to the calendar page. We have the add to calendar links. These are handy for emails, newsletters, social media campaigns, SMS messages, wherever you can think of that a URL is handy or a link is handy. That is good and dandy. Then the add to calendar button. This is great for websites and landing pages. You can't technically use the add to calendar button in an email because it's got the drop down that's using JavaScript. But if you want to use a regular button in your marketing emails, then of course you can use direct links, or you can take them directly to the event landing page, which is pretty common. That's going to look like this. And then they could still interact as such. And then as we go down, we've got the direct links. These I would not recommend using unless you absolutely know what platform the person you're inviting is on. That's why we typically have the buttons or the links like this, where it's got one of everything, because sometimes people forward emails or one on their personal calendar, all that good stuff. And then lastly is embeddable events. So this allows you to embed your specific event directly onto whatever page you want. So I know Sam mentioned like Circle, for example. If you have a Circle community and you are using that for your membership stuff, and you want to have a specific event page for something that's coming up, whether it be like an all-day session, or if it's a mini conference that you're doing, or again, individual speakers, and you want to give a little bio and then the add to calendar information, you can absolutely do that. I really like these. I think they're really clean tiles. They look really nice. Cool. So jumping back up and talking about RSVP real quick. Basically, an RSVP event is going to work kind of like a hybrid between the subscription calendar and the regular event. And everybody, I think, is pretty familiar with RSVP, but this is just going to allow us, obviously, to collect those registrations. For RSVPs, by default, we have the standard RSVP form. We also have the ability to create our own RSVP forms. So you can collect additional information. For example, when you guys registered for this one, we would have asked, what questions might you have for us? That's all really helpful. Obviously, do you have any maybe like future session requests for your members? That would be helpful. So we love to see some fun RSVP forms. So I'm going to hit save, and now we'll notice that our event details page now is an RSVP section. So when we jump into that, we can see basically similar to the calendar subscribers, it's going to have this little section that has all of your attendee information. So I'm going to quickly refresh this and RSVP. Marissa. Cool. So once I register, I can add this to my calendar now, and it's going to look very similar as how it did before we made it an RSVP event. However, now if I go back into our event, I can see my attendee information is in here now. So this is where I can see the status of going. I can see my email. It's got all my fun IP address information. I am up in Canada at the moment, in case you guys saw the little Canadian flag. And this is really helpful for, again, any targeting that you want to do, any understanding of who's coming, what kind of questions they might have, all that good stuff. And then we can set a limit on the number of seats. So if you are hosting maybe like a dinner in San Francisco for all your members that are in San Francisco, but there's a limit of 10 people or, whatever it might be, you can limit to X amount of people and say, or sorry, like we're out of seats for this event. or whatever you'd like that to say. The other thing is the notification setting. So this is really helpful, I think, if you're working with a team. Again, if you have a guest speaker who's coming to talk about a specific topic, you could go, you could go ahead and ask them to check this ahead of time by sending this attendee list. So if you click this link, it's now going to give you a shareable link that you can pass around to maybe your co-worker, your employee, your partner, whomever needs to know this stuff. So if there was a question of, like what questions are they looking to get answered, you can pass them this without having to give them a login and all that fun stuff. One thing to know about this is that if you hit this little refresh button, it's going to refresh the token. And so what that means is that the old link that we had, this one right here, will no longer work because there's going to be a new one. So if I refresh the old one now, it's the wrong one, sorry, it will say invalid. So just be careful if you're sending that and you end up needing to refresh it. And then for the notifications here, that was the attendee list. So if you want to share it, but you can also get a summarized RSVP email every day or every time a new user RSVPs to the event, depending on the volume. Of course, you might want to take that into consideration. But I find this really helpful. I like when I'm hosting bigger events, I like to know how many people are RSVPing. It also allows you to add in different emails. So if you have somebody who, again, needs to know, but doesn't have access, that's really handy. And then lastly, under the settings, we can make this inactive. So basically, you can turn off the ability to collect more RSVPs. This is pretty often used for if it's passed already. And then you can also disable the RSVP like X amount of time before the event starts. So if it's 4 hours before and you're like, okay, no more, we have, our vendor needs to know exactly how many heads are going to be here. You can disable that ahead of time so that you are not accidentally getting more people. Cool. Okay. The other thing, now that we are back at the attendees tab, you'll notice it all kind of changed around. This is the custom RSVP form. So this is where you can customize those questions. Hey, what are you guys looking to get out of this session? If it's something like dinner, what is what's your food allergies if you've got them? What other sessions would you be interested in? That kind of stuff. It's a really great way to collect that information. And then we have email attendees. So you can basically send emails to everybody that's either RSVP is going as maybe or as can't go. This is really helpful if there's like an update, say for example, the time has changed and they've already added it to their calendar. You would want to make sure that they know that the time has changed and send that out. And then I know I mentioned sending reminder emails. So if we click into this custom RSVP forms, right now we're just using the standard one. So I'm just going to click into that. What you might want to take a peek at in here, and this is turned on, is that this confirmation email will send when somebody signed up for the event. So it'll send them that email. So I can show you really quickly because I've already gotten my confirmation email from registering. So when I hop into my Gmail, we can see confirmation for regular event, all that fun information, and then the add to calendar and here. So that is the confirmation. And then we also have the option to send the reminder email. So you can toggle to say X amount of time before this event takes place. By default, this is going to be 1 day before it takes place for the first reminder email. And because this is our standard template, you're not able to change that one. So you would need to create your own to be able to change the dates and stuff. And then after that one, we also have a 2 hours before by default. So if you don't want those reminders on, you can definitely edit that. But by default, that's going to be on. And then we have the follow-up email, which is an hour after the event has occurred. This is going to essentially like, thank you for joining, whatever. There's an option to like in the email itself, it'll have an option for you to put like a survey link to get feedback on how people liked your session. And then there is the option to do an event update. So that's a mouthful, sorry. When we do the customization template conversation, I think we might touch a little bit on customizing RSVP forms or customizing the emails. So you can tune back in for that one if you are interested, but we have a ton of resources online on our help center for this as well. Okay, sorry, you're probably so sick of listening to me talk. Okay, so before we move on, I just want to really quickly come back and just show you one last thing, which is that the regular event does not have a little icon just kind of coming back to where we were before. So we have that example event for recurring, that event series, and then the regular event. And that's how you can see kind of the differences there. And then when we were looking at the events, we can change the color, just coming back to Sam's color palette thing. So if you want an event to have a specific color, you can. For example, in my main example calendar, I've gone ahead and put webinars in dark green, product information in light green, customer facing things in yellow, or conference in yellow. I'm sorry, customer in blue, conference yellow. So you can use those as you see fit. It's really helpful if you've got kind of a system on how you like to organize things. So definitely keep that in mind if you have lots of different types of events that you're hosting. Otherwise, if you just want them to be fun and pretty, that is also reason enough to use it. So jumping over to Zapier. For anybody that's not familiar with Zapier, it essentially allows you to connect two different tools together that might not have a native integration. So we have recently redone our AddEvent integration on Zapier. It works really well. It allows you to connect with other tools. And I would highly recommend checking it out if you are not familiar with it or if you've not used it yet. We will do an upcoming integrations webinar on, I believe it's September 12th, but again, we'll send that out for you guys. But we can dig a lot deeper into that and kind of work through some different use cases and workflows. I will say some of the favorite things for me to do in here. We personally use HubSpot, so I like connecting AddEvent with HubSpot. A good example of things that you might want to do. I know we said, say we're collecting subscribers for your calendar, you probably want to push that back into your CRM to notate, okay, this person has subscribed to the calendar. Or if they are doing if you're using RSVP events, you could say, oh, I want to know that they have RSVP'd for this event. I can see now that they're interested in this topic. Similarly, if you are using those custom RSVP forms and you are asking maybe like future events that you might be interested in, or what industry you're in, all that stuff to basically stay as up to date as possible on what people are looking for. You want to make sure you're getting that longer lifetime value. So that is one of my favorite things to do. Another thing you can do is you can use it with Slack. So if you have kind of like a community, you could push stuff there. You can also send it to, if you've got like a vendor that you're working with, you can of course do that. So those are two big ones for Zapier. I could like talk your ears off. I know we have some customers using ClickUp that are creating events in AddEvent when they have a new ClickUp entry or all that good stuff, but I will leave it for there. If you're looking for more, obviously join our other other integration webinar. And then the other area that I think is really cool is we do have a native integration with MailChimp. So if you are sending with MailChimp, then it is really super handy to do basically pull your events into here. So if looking at the code, the add to calendar links or all that stuff intimidates you, using MailChimp is nice because we just have the option to one second, to pull the links directly in. So let me go ahead and just create a new one because that way you can see what I'm talking about. So MailChimp has both a new builder and a classic builder. The classic builder, you would basically paste in the code like you would do with any other email marketing tool. And then the new builder has where you can actually just integrate and pull it directly. So I'm just going to start from scratch. And let's just say this is an email that has my event that I'm promoting, our speaker series for my, say, I don't know if I have any images in here. Cool. Insert. Okay, so say it's for a speaker series, and then I want to include the add to calendar links. I'm going to drag the apps over here, and then I'm going to connect the AddEvent calendar links app. There's a few apps in MailChimp by default, and AddEvent is one of them. So if you are using MailChimp, this should hopefully be familiar. If not, it's super easy to use. And then basically what you would do is you would tell it if you'd like to share an event or a calendar, and that way you're specifying. And then basically which calendar is this? This is, I'll just grab our March Madness one from earlier this year. And then you can specify the event. right now it's all in the past, so that's not gonna show us anything fun. I actually don't even have a good one in front of me. Let's see. That's right. We will grab calendar then. We are just going to share this calendar. So basically, it's got the option to share the logos or the text, so you can toggle back and forth between those two to see which one you prefer. And then, oops, I didn't mean to click out of that. And then you can change the alignment from left, center, and right. And then you can include the text, either include it or hide it. So very easy to use. Sorry, I don't have a good calendar example right in front of me. There's too many calendars on that one. That's why we've set up a new one. But hopefully that is helpful in kind of seeing how we can use MailChimp and Zapier with AddEvent. If you are looking for a specific integration that we don't offer, we always keep a list of requests, so feel free to share that. But Zapier usually can get most of it done. I'd say most software apps these days are using Zapier at least. So I think I'm like thinking if there was any last minute things that I wanted to touch on, but I think those were the big ticket items. Covered reminder emails, covered RSVPs, covered how to unsubscribe people from calendars. I think those are all the big tickets.
I think so too. Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys are um, a little bit more informed about how you can better use AddEvent when it comes to like engaging with your clients and also just finding new ways to get events on people's calendars. I think that's the number one thing we hear from almost all of our customers is that it's so crazy how much calendars rule our lives, but it's so true. Like if it's not on your calendar, it's not happening. Like even this webinar, like there's a good chance that you guys showed up today because it was on your calendar. So definitely don't overestimate how important, calendar marketing as a whole is. But moving forward, it's time to head back to your dashboard and put some of these things into practice. Of course, follow us on LinkedIn for future updates about both our app and upcoming, webinars and things like that. We do also have a subscription calendar, which we'll be sending out in our thank you email. So stay tuned for that. You'll also get a recording of this webinar. And then if you're interested, some of the things that we talked about today, such as embeddables, custom templates and branding and that sort of thing are features that are on our paid plans. So if you're currently using our hobby plans and you'd like to try some of those paid features, just shoot us an email at trial@addevent.com and we will totally get you set up on a free 7-day trial so you can kind of give it a go and test the waters for yourselves. And as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you at the very next webinar. Have a
And sorry, I was just gonna say real quick. Oh, I didn't mean to turn my video off. Real quick, I saw Sherry, you asked which link to use. I just want to make sure I answer it before we close it real quick. But go ahead and use the event page link. That way people can add it or the short link. And then I popped another answer into the chat for somebody had asked ahead of time about the ICS files downloading. It's because of the system that you're using. So if you're downloading an Apple file, or if you're trying to do the Apple file and using an Outlook, that will be an issue. So sorry for cutting you off. I just panicked and I was like, oh no, I didn't say that. So
That's
hopefully
awesome.
that.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thanks everyone. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.